wide formatted Excel spreadsheet into a long formatted spreadsheet, you first will need to display the pivot table wizard. The shortcut for that in a Mac computer is Command Option or Command Alt Command Option P. And if you do that, you will get this floating window. The shortcut in a PC computer may be different. It may be Control Alt P or something like that. But in a Mac computer, it's Command Option P. If you get these, you will get the pivot table wizard. I'm not going to stop and explain every single one of these options, so just follow along. Click on multiple consolidation ranges and click on next. On this page, you will say, I will create the page fields. So I change that to I will create the page fields and click on next. And on the next step, select the range of the data that you want to transform. That means that I'm going to just drag on my spreadsheet and select all the cells that contain data. So I'm going to go down here to row 200 and something, and then I'm going to move horizontally to just select all the data that I have on my spreadsheet. It may be faster to do this with the shift key, or beginning with the bottom right of your Excel spreadsheet, just to get a better idea of how big it is. Excel users, advanced Excel users, probably they will have a better way of selecting all the data. So I got reached the bottom, so I'm going to just move to the right. The important thing is to get all the data points over here. So I'm just going to just keep dragging until I get to the end of the spreadsheet. And once I have done that, I'm going to click on add these data. So I'm going to just let go in there. That will select all, wide format, A, S1 to B, etc. So that means I'm selecting all. I click on add, okay, that will add it here. And then we click on next. And once we do that, it will ask us, do you want to do this in a new sheet? Yes, I want to do this in a new sheet. So I'm going to click here, click on finish, and that is going to create a very strange looking pivot table. Don't worry about it, all right? Don't worry about how this pivot table looks like. You will see tons of ones over here. Don't even bother about that. Just scroll down, right, until you get to the end of the table, and go to the bottom right corner. This is the grand total of the grand total number. Now here's the magic. Click twice on this cell, or you have the bottom right cell. Click twice on that, and what you will get, you have the long formatted file, which is great. And then we can rename this column. So instead of row, I'm going to rename these as country. So I always like to name I'm actually going to zoom in so you can see this clearly. So I'm going to zoom 200%. So country, the second column is year. It's always important to label things correctly. And the third one is value. But you can rename these. You can and actually give it a name like child. It's important to not to leave spaces in the names of your variables. If you want to analyze this properly, I recommend to write your labels as a single word. So child mortality, I usually use uppercase on the beginning of each word, even if I don't leave spaces. So child mortality under 5, and that's it. So I click on next, and now we have the data set ready to be analyzed. What we could do in order to save this as a separate file, right? This is something that I recommend to do, would be to go to the file menu, save as, okay, and save this as a CSV file. So I'm going to go over here, CSV file, comma separated values, and then save it on the desktop if you want, or whatever you want. Just save it on the folder that you're using, and just call it child mortality long format or something like that, long format. And that will save a new file called child mortality long format.csv. Okay, I have said it will ask you, this workbook will save only the active screen, only the active sheet, which is perfectly fine because this is exactly what you want to save. So just click on save active sheet. You click on that, then click on continue, and that will save a separate file. I can go here, click on file open, and then go to my desktop, and then find child mortality, whatever, I don't remember, a child mortality long format. So I can click on the double click on that, and well, actually it's already open. Okay, child mortality long format. So I'm going to click on I'm going to close it without saving because I had already saved it, and then I'm going to file open for you to take a look at how it looks like. It looks basically the same. But there you go. The file is ready to be used in any. Let me just zoom in. You will see that there are some missing values, but that doesn't really matter. I mean, those are values that were basically not recorded. All right. For example, for a country like American Samoa, there is no values. You may want to clean this up a little bit further just by erasing the countries that have no values, but we can analyze the data like it is right now. Actually, when I created the a very simple graphic based on this data, I kept this as it is. I just erased the things that are not countries. For instance, there are some averages here. There is an Asia average, an Europe average, a world average. I basically erased all those, and then I saved another version of the file. It is always important to keep a record of all the transformations that you have done on the data, right? And also keep several versions of the files, of all the transformations. So I would encourage you to save one version of the file, a new copy of the file, every time that you modify your data file in any significant way. You could call that version control if you wish, because that's exactly what it is. You will be able to go back to any previous step and then explain to yourself what you did. That's very important. It's also important to take notes about all these changes that you have made in the data. These are very simple transformations of the data, but there are many other cases in which you will be transforming your data in other many different meaningful ways. And down the road, if you made a lot of them, you may forget why you made that change in the data. That is the reason why it's so important to keep a record. And actually, if you want to publish this visualization of yours later on, or a story about this data, you may want to include a section in your story explaining the methodology that you followed, and all these transformations could be included in that explanation. What changes you made in the original data that you downloaded from the World Bank. As you remember, this is the original file.